Hello, critical thinkers. Hope all is well. Welcome to the stream tonight. Tonight, we got two very interesting articles to go over with you. But before anything, obviously, I have to do a little commercial. So if everyone can please do me a favor, when you have the opportunity, if you can like the stream, comment below. It'd be great if you let me know where you're watching from. Share it, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. It helps with the algorithm. It helps get the message out there. Okay, so hopefully everyone is having a good night tonight, wherever you're watching from. So if you guys can please do me a favor, just type in the chat where you're from, whether it's upstate New York, whether you're in Florida, whether you are in Minnesota, whether you're in the UK, Australia. We have people from all across the globe watching Critical Conversations HR, and we greatly appreciate that. So again, if you can do me a favor, like the stream, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you feel compelled to do so, feel free to make a donation. It truly helps with operating expenses and getting the message out there. So again, thanks everyone. And one of the first things I want to do is go over the first article. And this article pertains to, or this story pertains to, an incarcerated individual on Rikers Island. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the article here in a sec. Just give me one quick second. Let me pull this up and share it with you guys. And then I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think about this, because offhand, this kind of feels like medical neglect. And we hear stories of medical neglect. We've heard stories of incarcerated individuals, dying during the correctional officer strike, right? So let me know if you believe this is a case of medical neglect on Rikers Island. So I'm going to go ahead and share this article with you here. And give me one sec. Here we go. And up. So here we go. A 22-year-old Rikers Island detainee says jail staff quote unquote effectively sterilized him by prescribing him an antidepressant that gave him a painful 5-day erection, and ignoring his excruciating pain until it was too late, a blockbuster lawsuit alleges. Ernst Oliver, 22, now suffers permanent erectile dysfunction as a result of the jail's medical misconduct, and correction officers there joked afterwards, stating he would no longer be a problem because his DICK did not work, according to the lawsuit filed in Brooklyn federal court on Tuesday. While this is merely an example of a broad societal problem, Rikers has effectively sterilized a young man of only 22 years of age, one who, no matter the reason for his incarceration, did not deserve such treatment by the state, the lawsuit reads. Now, some people, let me know if you believe Rikers Island should be shut down permanently. I believe I'm not too familiar with what's happening on Rikers Island, but is Rikers Island shutting down? Maybe somebody in the chat can write down what's happening with Rikers Island. I know there was a big campaign to shut down Rikers. Uh, Let me know in the chat whether it's shutting down or whether it's staying open and you believe it should be shut down. Let's continue on with the article. Oliver has been locked up since November 2022 on $25,000 bond after seeing his arrest in a Brooklyn robbery and sexual abuse case. He was prescribed. Actually, before I continue with that, one thing that I did do, I wanted to do I basically did a lookup of what exactly his charges were, and I'm going to pull that up now, um, because the article says it's a sexual abuse charge, and I will tell you what I was able to come up with. So give me 1 second here, and let me pull this up. Excuse me. Stop screen. Okay. Okay. So this is what I was able to pull up. He's currently on Rikers Island, the incarcerated individual, and he has two charges that seem to be pending. One is a forcible touching, which seems to be here listed as a Class A misdemeanor, and this is being handled in domestic violence court. And the other charge is a robbery charge. So it seems as though he's been incarcerated since November of 2022, uh, and he's unable to make the $25,000 bail. So I just wanted to point that out because I was curious to know what exactly was his charge. Okay, let me pull the article back up. Okay. So Oliver has been locked up since November 2022 on $25,000 bond after his arrest in a Brooklyn robbery and sexual abuse case. He was prescribed 75 milligrams of trazodone, an antidepressant often used for sleep disorders, even though the FDA has not approved it for that use, and 4 milligrams of risperidone, an antipsychotic, his lawsuit alleges. Now, just one quick thing out of fairness and transparency. The article says that he was prescribed trazodone, which is an antidepressant. And again, I'm not a medical professional, but what I can tell you is that in some cases, you have medications that are initially used for one thing, and then later on, they're prescribed for something else. The FDA may not have approved of it as of yet. I don't know if the FDA has to, but that's just one little quick thing that I noted for myself that I would share with you guys. Continuing on, both medications can cause priapism or prolonged painful erections as a side effect, and most mornings he would suffer stuttering priapism, which would last for about 3 hours, his lawsuit alleges. On October 28, he suffered ischemic priapism, which is considered a medical emergency and must be treated within hours, according to the lawsuit. By 24 hours, chance of a full recovery drops to 50% and keeps dropping as the hours tick off. So what this is saying is that on day one, it basically is an urgent situation in which he needs to be treated, and by 24 hours, chance of a full recovery drops to 50% and keeps dropping as the hours tick off. Wow. Blood becomes trapped in the penis, and the trapped blood becomes deoxygenated, leading to tissue damage and the possibility of permanent erectile dysfunction at the 36-hour mark. So what we know is that this was a total of 5 days until he got treatment. That correction officers in the jail's complex, Robert N. Durvin Center, ignored his condition for several days, he alleges. Quote, the evidence will show he was ignored for 5 full days. He wasn't brought to medical care until the 5th day. Urologists tell us it is extremely rare to see priapism last that long because of the excruciating pain the patient is in. His attorney, Scott Yakitis of Bader and Yakitis LLP, told the Daily News, quote, because the guards ignored him for 5 days, and during this period, he was unable to walk, doubled over in pain, and unable to sleep for a 5-day period. One has to wonder what exactly is the training for the guards to allow that to exist for 5 days. This is beyond the regular failing of guards at Rikers. Do me a favor. If everyone here could do me a favor, like the stream, share it, subscribe to the channel. And if you believe that the correctional officers on Rikers made a mistake by not getting him medical treatment, write a 1 in the chat. If you believe no error was done, write 2. So again, if you believe that the correctional officers made a mistake on Rikers, type a 1 in the chat or type 2 in the chat if you feel that no mistake was made. Thank you for that. On day 1, he told the correction officer who said she'd report his pain, but nothing happened according to the lawsuit. On day 2, quote, he found it difficult to walk or stand, and he was mostly huddled in a ball in pain, often unable to get off the floor, and informed the correction officers but still didn't receive medical attention, the suit alleges. Now, again, if this is true, if he was requesting medical treatment and nothing was done for 5 days, he deserves more than financial compensation. This would be outright medical neglect, torture. So these are some allegations that are pretty strong. I am not surprised by these allegations. Many moons ago, I was on Rikers Island as a juvenile. I was on C-76. Basically, I did 6 months, 5 years probation, and a program called Cases when I was 17 years of age. So that's where I did my time, city time on Rikers Island. So I have some familiarity with the correction officers and the brutality that's there. I'm going to continue on with the article here. Okay, on day 2, he found it difficult to walk or stand, and he was mostly huddled in a ball in pain, often unable to get off the floor, and informed the correction officers, but still didn't receive medical attention, the suit alleges. On day 3, a corrections officer captain dismissed his complaints as lies, he alleges. Oliver used a jail phone to call 311, but still nothing happened. Finally, after more complaints to more correction officers, the officer he first complained to saw him again on day 5, according to the suit. Oliver went to Bellevue Hospital, where doctors used a needle, ouch, to drain the stale blood from his penis. But that didn't work, so they needed to slice it open and cut a shunt on each side to clear the blood, the bad blood, the lawsuit alleges. Wow. Back when I used to live in New York City, I used to hear horror stories about Bellevue Hospital. So, but let's continue on. Oliver, who was born and raised in New York, remains in Rikers as his case proceeds. He's accused of groping and mugging a 36-year-old woman. Correction officers have repeatedly mocked him about his medical condition since he returned from the hospital, the lawsuit alleges. So just one quick thing here about this. So he's accused of groping and mugging a 36-year-old woman. According to the inmate Lookup, it reads as though, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it looks as though the charge he has is a domestic violence charge. But again, I could be wrong. I stand corrected if somebody wants to correct me. Let's continue on. Quote, this is an emergency condition that has to be treated within 24 hours, and it lingered for 5 days, his lawyer told the news. The odds of him ever being able to have an erection again are basically zero. He's going to be in pain for the rest of his life because they didn't treat this quickly enough. Can you imagine at age 22 not being able to get an erection again? The City Department of Correction referred all questions Tuesday to the City Law Department. Quote, we will review the case, said Law Department spokesperson Nicholas Palucci. Wow. That was an interesting story. I really don't know what to say about this one. If you guys want to chime in, I'm gonna put a link um, in the chat if you want to come up and chit chat with me and let me know about this, whether you believe it's medical neglect, whether you believe it's not medical neglect. Feel free to chime in. The only thing I will say is that if you want to come on the streams, please share your camera, show your face. Don't have any loud music in the background, and be respectful. If you have a difference of opinion, by all means, feel free to come on. I welcome everyone, even those that disagree with me. I have many correction officers that will write statements and comments, and I just want to say, if you're a correction officer and you disagree with me, I will give you the platform. I will be respectful. If you want to come on and chit chat with me, I think it would make a great conversation. But to this date, I have not found one correction officer who wants to show their face. Even if you're retired and you want to come on, I would welcome you as well. So feel free to reach out to me. My info is in the description. It's in the chat. No, not in the chat, but it's in the stream description. Okay. All right. So one thing I want to do very quickly. Oh, and also, if you decide you do want to come on, you have to click on share your mic, your camera, and then click on enter studio. I cannot see you unless you click on enter studio, and we'll chop it up. Okay. So the thing I want to do very quickly is um, go through a couple of your comments. I want to see what you have to say, because honestly, I'll be honest with you. When I part of me was debating whether I would cover this or not, because the article mentioned sexual abuse, and then I wanted to look into what specifically was his charge, and it says that the way I read it, it looks as though it's involving a domestic violence, but this article says he allegedly groped a woman during a robbery. So this is why I kind of was 50-50 about covering this article, covering this information, but I wanted to do so anyway. I'm more interested in what you think and what you have to say about this. Um, Okay, we'll start off with TLL921. I've been waiting for this video all day. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Hopefully this video meets your expectations. We have BJ Webbs. Thank you for being here, BJ Webbs. Good evening. Sterilizing someone sure sounds horrible. It sounds absolutely horrible. It's basically medical neglect, and it sounds as though, based on his charges, the COs wanted him to suffer. That's the appearance that comes to mind for me, or that's a perception. Angel Walters says, "Good evening, all." Thank you for being here, Angel. Angel says, "Watching from Atlanta, but from Rochester, New York." So since you're from Rochester, I'm sure you have a lot of opinions about what's going on in these prisons upstate, and also what's happening with the Robert Brooks and Messiah Nantry cases. BJ Webbs, I believe I've seen some crazy stuff in a movie before about a cult that did some horrible sterilization crap. Um, yeah. So, Sean Bum, Egypt, Florida. Egypt, Florida. So, for those of you who don't know, if you are not familiar, the United States has had a history of forced sterilizations. Um, for anyone who's interested, you can feel free to check out a documentary that speaks about forced sterilizations. It's called MAFA. I believe it's called MAFA 21. I just put that in the chat. Feel free to Google it and check it out. Check it out. So we have TLL921 saying, um, I'm going to be watching on my Roku, but I'll be right back. Okay, cool. BJ Webbs from Northern New York. Thank you for being here, BJ. TLL Buffalo, New York. Oh, we got Smitty saying hello, hello. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Oh, we have TLL 921. I read the article on this. I don't like sex charges. I won't like that he wasn't even convicted yet. And that's not a form of punishment New York gives out legally. And all incarcerated individuals deserve fair and humane treatment. I do agree with you. Basically, for those of you who don't know, you're in Rikers Island because you have pending charges. Pending charges. So I'm going to go over a couple of more comments very, very quickly. And we'll move on to the next one. We have BJ Webb saying, act conservative felon, conservative felon. If you're out there, hello. Uh, conservative felon has a great channel. Check out his channel. So we have BJ Webb shouting him out. Really, really appreciate that. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to jump to the next article or the next story that I wanted to cover. Now, many of you or some of you know that I've been covering correctional officer abuses, mistreatment of incarcerated individuals, and also fraud, workers' compensation fraud. Many of you have attacked me on this. Many of you have said I'm lying, I'm not telling the truth. I've given data. I've done a comprehensive PowerPoint deck speaking about the abuses that correctional officers engage in terms of workers' compensation fraud. I've done a video about the strike and how you had correctional officers proclaiming, we're working double, triple shifts. We have to work on holidays. This is unfair. But what the mainstream media wasn't telling you is that there's a reason why they're working all these shifts, because the biggest department, the biggest group of state employees in New York State that engage in fraud is the New York State Department of Correction. The New York State Department of Correction. So for those of you who may not believe me, I'm going to play a video for you by the New York State Inspector General, and her name is Lucy Lang. So I'm going to pull up this video for you to look at from Lucy Lang. Don't take my word for it. Let's hear what Lucy Lang has to say.
In addition,
Oh, one quick thing. Okay, and before anything, again, do me a favor. I'm going to play for you. She did. Okay.
to serving as the New York State Inspector General, I also serve as the Workers' Compensation Inspector General. And in the course of my visits to New York's 42 prisons, I heard over and over again that both incarcerated people and corrections staff were upset by the volume of corrections officers who were out on workers' compensation leave. What we learned when we dug into it is that although corrections staff only comprise 15% of the state workforce, that they comprise upwards of 44% of the state insurance fund workers' compensation.
Take a look at what she had to say. The correction officers make up, I believe she said, 15% of the workforce of New York State, but they make up 44% of the workers' compensation cases with the New York State Insurance Fund. Keep listening to what keep listening to what your New York State Inspector General has to say.
Contrary to what one might think, the vast majority of these workers' compensation claims are unrelated to any contact with an incarcerated person. They're related to your standard kind of workplace injuries. What happened?
Note that she said the bulk of the workers' compensation cases have nothing to do with an interaction with an incarcerated individual. So this myth that the correctional officer job is an extremely dangerous job is a statement that I've debunked. So I did do a video on that. It upset a bunch of people, but I'm going by facts and data straight from the New York State Department of Correction.
Happens when a corrections officer is out on workers' compensation leave is that their colleagues end up having to work overtime, to work double or even triple shifts. And unfortunately, due to a provision in the contract, there's a real incentive for docs officers to go out on workers' compensation, and there aren't the same limitations that there are in other comparable industries, like, for example, the police, who have to stay at home when they're home on workers' compensation leave, and so it can be easily monitored. So it's very difficult for us to even pursue fraud cases against docs officers who may be abusing that very generous provision because of the fact that it does not have those limitations on it. So as a result, we see huge numbers of facilities that have very large numbers of officers who are out on workers' compensation leave, resulting in understaffing. And the first thing to go when staffing numbers are down are the kind of programs that folks rely on to help facilitate their success.
Now, let's take a look at what Lucy Lang has to say. When the staffing numbers are down, the correctional officers suffer themselves, and incarcerated individuals suffer as well. And there's a lack of programming.
When they come home, and that includes the truly mission critical vocational and educational programs that we know are the core of enabling people to successfully rehabilitate and reintegrate.
What do you recommend then to try and provide some guardrails around that?
We have recommended that there be a real assessment of the provision as it exists, and that there be continued vigilance to those claims.
And this goes back to a report from 2 years ago. Is that right?
I don't want to misspeak, but
Okay.
I believe it was 23.
Okay. So within the last few years.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, a recent report.
Okay.
And Tom, I know you know this, but New Yorkers who suspect fraud or corruption in the State Department of Corrections or in any of the state executive agencies should report it to us at 1-800-DO-RIGHT. And I encourage people to learn more about our work.
Okay, I'm going to stop the video there. So you heard it from Lucy Lang directly, the New York State Inspector General. Her job is to investigate corruption and fraud within New York State departments. And she has said, I've read many of her publications, that there's widespread workers' compensation fraud within the New York State Department of Corrections. Now, this next story is about one such correction officer that has engaged in workers' compensation fraud. And what I'm going to read to you is the press release from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office speaking about this case. It's comprehensive. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to share this with you now. And then, okay. Okay, here we go. So this is the press release from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, and this came out on Tuesday, June 24th. New York State correction officer indicted for stealing approximately $43,000 in workers' compensation benefits. Defendant allegedly claimed she was injured on the job and could not work. Undercover probe revealed she was earning income from her hair braiding business. Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez, together with New York State Inspector General Lucy Lang, today announced that a Brooklyn woman employed as a New York State correction officer has been arraigned on an indictment in which she is charged with grand larceny, scheme to defraud, falsifying business records, and related charges for stealing approximately $43,000 in benefits over the last 4 years. District Attorney Gonzalez said workers' compensation benefits exist to support those who are truly injured and unable to work, not to be exploited for personal gain. Now, just one quick thing I want to note based on my research is this. And Lucy Lang made recommendations to docs when it was time to renew with NYSCOBA the collective bargaining agreement. And guess what? Lucy Lang's recommendations were not taken into account the same way in the collective bargaining agreement of NYSCOBA. Correction officers cannot be fired from docks. It has to go through a third-party arbitrator, paid for by NYSCOBA, which that's a whole other, conflict in my opinion. Correctional officers get 100% of their income if they go out on workers' compensation. Most most organizations, most employers, most state workers' compensation, they have it set up where you get maybe 60%, 80% of your benefits. So correction officers have an incentive to be out on workers' compensation and to stay out. So the same way these union contracts are set up for individuals to be abused and murdered, these contracts are set up for correction officers to take advantage of the system. So that continues to happen. Okay. This defendant's alleged conduct is a serious betrayal of the public trust, and we will seek to hold her fully accountable. This case ends a strong message that we will investigate and prosecute fraud wherever we find it, especially when committed by those sworn to uphold the law. I'm grateful to Inspector General Lang and her team and to our prosecutors for their work on this case. Inspector General Lang said, correction officers hold positions of public trust and should be expected to uphold the highest standards of integrity. This officer both violated that trust and undermined public confidence in her profession by fraudulently collecting workers' compensation benefits while running a business at the same time. Thank you to my team and to District Attorney Gonzalez and his office for their partnership in safeguarding public resources and accountability in state prisons. The district attorney identified the defendant as Jamila Madison John, 42, of Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. She was arraigned today before Brooklyn Supreme Court Justice Jeffrey Gershoni on a 23-count indictment in which she is charged with 2 counts of third-degree grand larceny, first-degree scheme to defraud, 5 counts of first-degree falsifying business records, 5 counts of first-degree offering a false instrument for filing, 5 counts of penalties for fraudulent practices, and 5 counts of third-degree insurance fraud. The defendant was released without bail in order to return to court on August 13th, 2025, and I will, follow up with this story. It is alleged that between June 10, 2021 and June 6, 2025, the defendant, who was a New York State correctional officer assigned to the Queensborough Correctional Facility at the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, stole approximately $43,382.79 in benefits from both docks and the New York State Insurance Fund by falsely claiming she was unable to work due to on-duty injuries. In fact, it is alleged while collecting workers' compensation benefits, the defendant earned income from a hair braiding business which she owned and operated. The defendant advertised her business on social media. An undercover operation led by the New York State Inspector General's office allegedly recorded the defendant actively braiding the undercover's hair, directly contradicting the defendant's claimed disability. Now, there's one thing to note is that the corruption in docks with workers' compensation fraud is so widespread that they don't have the resources necessary to have agents to cover the corruption and the fraud. So the fact that they were able to get this woman is pretty interesting, and the fact that they had an undercover is fascinating. The defendant has been employed as a correction officer for approximately 17 years. The case was investigated by New York State Inspector General staff, including senior investigator Ann Peters, investigator Mario Rubino, and digital forensic investigator Colin Corrado, working under the supervision of attorney in charge for workers' compensation fraud, Brian Richmond, and chief of investigations for the New York City and Long Island regions, Ben Diafabal. By the way, Smitty, I see you. I see you in the back. I am going to bring you up, okay? The case is being prosecuted by Senior Assistant District Attorney Pamela Love of the District Attorney's Public Integrity Bureau under the supervision of Assistant DA Adam Lebov, Deputy Bureau Chief and Assistant District Attorney Laura Neubauer, Bureau Chief, and the overall supervision of Assistant District Attorney Michael Spakankos, Deputy Chief of the District Attorney's Investigations Division, and Assistant District Attorney Patricia McNeil, Chief of the Investigations Division. That was that was a long tongue twister for me. A lot of names, a lot of words. So, and lastly, we'll end here with saying an indictment is not an accusatory instrument and not proof of a defendant's guilt. So you guys let me know what you feel about this in terms of the workers' compensation fraud. For me, it's kind of interesting that she, was advertising on social media, a hair braiding business, while collecting, basically collecting workers' compensation. That's pretty alarming to me. So I'm going to bring up someone up to the stage. Smitty, how you doing, Smitty?
I'm good. I'm doing well. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. How's your evening going?
Oh, it's been very busy. Thursdays are always busy for me. But I happened to, I said, let me get on tonight. I've been seeing all of your videos pop up. I just didn't have time to really, I didn't have energy to give to it, right? I've been tired lately. But anyway, I need to go back and watch that video regarding the corrections officers. So I'm a mental health therapist. And when I was doing my internship about 5 years ago, for some reason at the agency, we caught this influx of police officers, corrections officers coming in for therapy. So somebody caught wind of it and said, there's a trend happening here. Majority of them were corrections officers, to be honest with you. And they were, what they were trying to do was this very thing that's being exposed right now, right? Now we know that, these entities, NYPD, corrections, whatever may have you, it's all a design, right? It's money makers, big money makers. So the people, like anything, they're going to find the loopholes and figure out how to rob the system. I've had few correction officers come. I had one in particular who was a new mother. She had been recently diagnosed with a particular disorder. She could not go to work. I worked with this young lady, and I think she had a leave. She had maternity leave, and they were fighting her on the maternity leave. We need you here. You got to come in. But her doctors know all of that. Stated she cannot go back to work. Her body needed to recover, but furthermore, her mental state was not where it should have been to come back to work. They were threatening her job. If you don't come back at this time, now mind you, it wasn't at the end of the time, where she could come back to work. They were trying to bring her before the time elapsed. Yes. So she got 3 months. They were calling her at maybe like a month and a half. We need you to come in. We don't have any guards, la, 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 la. There was a period, this was during the pandemic. This was at the height of the pandemic at that. So you're dealing with COVID. Rikers does not have the proper ventilation. It's really dirty there. Yeah. I had family members who are teachers that work there. I know people. I know enough people, and if everyone's saying the same thing, everybody can't be wrong. You understand? Yeah. So what she did was, because she had family in the police department, she spoke with that person for whatever the department, they instructed her on what to do so she could get out of corrections, because her job was on the line if she didn't return. During the pandemic, they had this thing, oh, we'll cut down the training time. So if the training time was a year, they were cutting it down to 6 months just so that they could have bodies in there. Because correctional officers, what they do is they bait you with that money. And it's funny, even now, there's commercials going on now. Oh, come work for corrections and la, 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 la. You know, you will make good money. That's how they bait them. You want money, go to do corrections. It's easy. You ain't got to worry about nothing. But it depends on where they send you. And nobody ever wants to go to Rikers because they know there's corruption going on there. Everything is not just the inmates. There's no proper protocol. I've even had clients who were either a part of the medical team or they were part of the mental health. And even for them, they said, we don't even really want to go in there because we don't even know if what we're doing is efficacious. So it's like the good that you try to do for some of them, I'm not saying all of them.
Yeah.
They were trying to, you know, dismantle like what they were doing so that these inmates don't get what it was that they needed. So hearing something like what happened with that 22-year-old young man, that's literally just making me sick to my stomach. I don't even want to talk about it. But anyway, going back to what you're saying now, I'm glad that they're now sitting on this, because if this is going to be exposed, then you got to expose everything that's going on over there. Okay.
Yeah.
It is, for some of them, it is dangerous for them to do. Here's why. Because if you're already working a shift, I don't remember how long that shift was. Sometimes those shifts are more than 8 hours. If the next officer doesn't come in, these people have to wait for the next group to come in. A lot of the times they don't come in. So now you're stuck on a job doing overtime that you don't want to do. Then sometimes they're working double shift, triple shifts. That's illegal. They know this. But there's nothing that they could do. So what do? They threaten their jobs. Some of them don't even eat lunch. They have not slept. Sometimes they can't even go to the restroom because they have to manage whatever is going on there. So I'm happy that if this is really going on, because you do have this type of corruption, going back to the agency, someone found the pattern. They were all coming in, oh, I just need to, get this letter to say that I can't come to work. In order for us to do that paperwork, you got to pay for that. And that's a pretty penny. Dealing with FMLA, you got to go to the doctor. It's a whole process that you have to go through. Furthermore, you have to do at least 4 to 6 sessions for us to find the criteria to support whatever that diagnosis is that your psych doctor gave you. Because psych doctors, some of them, they're a little crooked too. Yeah. So they all of a sudden now started to have this, well, then go to that agency that doesn't care, because they're going to have to be liable for every document that they fill out and they sign. So we were charging people $250 just to do the paperwork. And then, yes, you got to do 4 to 6 sessions. If you're not compliant with it, go someplace else. So, yeah. Is it dangerous for some of these correction officers? I think so. But mainly, the whole system's corrupt. The whole system is corrupt. So again, I thank you for exposing it, because I've been waiting for something like that. And here's the thing. For some of the people that have been trying to expose that, who have been complaining, making documentation to HR, all of a sudden those things disappear. And these people, they're being threatened. They are being threatened. Some people are taking early retirement. I serve these people. I'm not saying it's all of them. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not even going to say you're right. I'm going to say based off of what I served, that's all I can speak to. It might not be dangerous for some of them because they understand the game. All you got to do is do this. Don't worry about that. Just focus on this. Don't focus on that, because you're going to get yourself in trouble. And those who are actually doing their job are also being threatened, because if they see something, they're reporting it. Because I had a correction officer, he played everything by the book, and they were pissed off with him. Pissed off, but they couldn't move him. They couldn't move him because he wasn't afraid.
And that was something that in the video that Lucy Lang had said, and part of like when she took the role, she went to every single New York State correctional facility and interviewed those incarcerated and correction officers, and both complained about the widespread misuse of workers' compensation. Because if you're incarcerated, you're basically your programming is gone. There are many people in New York State correctional facilities now that I'm hearing don't get religious services. The educational programs are gone because they don't have the staffing to run these programs, but they can still run these work programs these labor programs in which the correctional facility is getting money for work.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
You see what I'm
wild.
saying? And so, like one thing I do want to commend Lucy Lang, because she has put this out there for the world to see, and she's made recommendations to New York State docs, right? And nothing's been done. So the same labor contract that says you get 100% of your pay for 6 months, that's still in place. So these officers, there's an incentive. There's an incentive for them. And like, for example, if you're NYPD, you have to stay home. You cannot be traveling to foreign places.
Oh, you'd be
That restriction
surprised.
is not. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But
You'd be
that
surprised.
restriction is not there on paper for these correctional
Right.
officers.
Right.
At least there's something in writing for NYPD, and if they break it, they break it. But for NYSCOBA, there's nothing in writing stating that you have to stay home, X, Y, and Z. So the system is set up for them to take advantage. And then what the issue is, they want to blame like this boogeyman in terms of all these problems in New York State prisons. In part, it's because you guys don't have the staffing. You guys are taking advantage. So, God, tell me what you think about that.
It's again, it's horrible. That is horrible. Like you don't even have words for that. It's like that thing. Like you see the person doing the thing, you complaining about that the person's doing the thing, but everyone's just gonna let that person continue doing the thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand why Rikers, and for the life of me, I think they've been talking about it for years to either overhaul it or shut it down completely. And I think at one point, I don't even know if this was a real thing or if it was a rumor now, because nothing came of it. I think they wanted to take Rikers and then turn it into like an Amazon warehouse. Like that whole thing was either going to be an Amazon thing, or they were going to dismantle it and then put housing there. But it was not even housing that was affordable for anybody. It was going to be for the elite. So it was another money maker. So now, we're still with the seriousness of putting incarcerated people there. So it's like, to my understanding, Rikers is almost like a holding cell until your docket number comes up for them to now bring your case forward. Because it's not.
Yeah. So basically,
there's so many
you're on
parts
Rikers
to
Island,
Rikers that they don't even use the whole thing. They don't use the whole thing. The therapist that I talked to, the part where she worked in, and even the other correctional officers, he was on one side, and sometimes they got to take it to the other. You literally got to get in a car to drive to the other side.
Yeah.
But they don't use the whole thing. They'll crowd everybody in one space, but then you only got like 5 cops to like 20 people. Like, make that make sense. It's a jungle. It's worse than an actual prison, from what I'm understanding. I had a family member that was held there for like a year or two before, his court case came up. And I was like, this is crazy. So it's like sheep herding. You don't have any place else to put them but Rikers. Sometimes there's no heat. Sometimes there's no air condition. The food, forget about it. Like, I've heard different things from different people. So I don't know. I don't know. Then the people were fighting because they were thinking of putting detention centers in every borough. And of course, you're going to know where they're going to put them. So yeah, everybody's speaking up.
Where?
In the urban areas. God forbid if you're going to put it in a more well-to-do neighborhood, they're never going to put it in the affluent areas because their money is funding something. But you're going to put it where the people are already poor and maybe struggling and maybe don't vote. But, when you start talking about you're going to release, ex-cons or whatever, and if they have any type of like SA situations, yeah, we don't want you in the neighborhood. They're gonna put them in those hotels that are right by a school. Like who? It's by design. So that's why I think Rikers is still there, because they don't have any place else to put them.
Yeah.
And every borough is fighting it. You're gonna put a detention center or a little prison in every borough. New York City downstate is just gonna implode. With all the crookedness that goes on, the corrections officers are the worst because they're in it. They're a part of the Chitlin gang, if you will, right? Oh, I'm innocent. I don't know these people. No, you know them people. You sleeping with this one. That one's your cousin. That one's your uncle. Okay? Let's stop the foolishness. You're only there because of the overtime. And when you're working there, you're probably just sleeping. You're not working, but you're making 6 figures. And then you're bored.
I think
I don't get it.
Yeah, and well, I think that's why there's such a push for correction officers who are striking not to wear body cams. They don't want to wear body cameras.
Yeah, because
there's a reason for that.
Yeah, because you're a part of the problem. You're 100% a part of the problem. And so this has to stop. I was thankful for COVID because it exposed everything. And so now it's in your face. We cannot deny this. You have to do something about it. And these politicians need to stop sitting here clickbaiting people to get a vote. Do your effing job. Because people are dying unnecessarily. People are being injured unnecessarily. And it's on your dime. This is what our tax money is paying for you to just freely do what you want to a civil. Come on. Until it hits your home, now you're listen, the seeds you sow, you will surely reap them in due season. They better be careful. You have to treat people with the respect. I don't care what they did. That's still a human being. And all of us want a chance, right? All of us have whatever our upbringing is. I get flagged all the, well, how can you talk to inmates? Because that's a human life. Just because they made a mistake doesn't mean they can't be rehabilitated. Not everybody's going to be rehabilitated. Some people belong there. They absolutely do, because that's the boundary they need. But prison was set up, for people to think on what they did, to reflect. You should still get your education. You should still be connected to the outside, right? You deserve the same chance, but even down to the food they eat. I have a pen pal that I speak to every week. And some of the things that they do, sometimes they steal their mail. They just do things because the corrections officer have a problem with them. Your job is to protect them and kind of keep the thing smoothed out.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
So you are a mental health professional, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel about this? One thing that the correctional officers were striking for was to have visits not be face-to-face and be behind plexiglass. How do you feel about that?
Well, first, what would be the reason to be behind a plexiglass? What's the purpose in that? Is there something going on? Are they passing, like the file in the sub-hero sandwich? If you're being patted down, these are loved ones that are inside, right? And so mothers who have sons in there, just for example, already you're traveling 2 hours, maybe more, to go see your child?
More, yeah, sometimes more.
Sometimes these mothers don't have the transportation or the money to go do it. That means they're taking the day off from work to go up and see their child or their loved one, whoever it may be. And then you get pat down. You can't bring your phone. You can't have certain things on you because they won't release you in. I think that's devastating to both sides because you need that human contact.
Yeah.
You're leaving that child in a jungle that's worse than the jungle they came from. So psychologically, they're not prepared. Nobody's prepared for that stuff. You have to become a different animal just to survive. Right? My pen pal that I speak to, he's been in there since he was 16. His sentence got added to, because what they don't talk about is that when they get in there, yeah, it's survival mode. So if, you ain't trying to get raped or whatever the case, things get stolen all the time. Toilet paper, toothbrushes, whatever it is, because somebody don't like you, whatever gang sect you're from, it's on like popcorn. These correction officers, I'm sorry, for as much training as they get, you're not trained for this. And so a lot of them, what they try to do is, because they see the pattern, they try to take care of each other. But if you scared, you're not listening. You think you about it. You think you're invincible. These are young people full of energy, They don't understand it until they have to understand it. And so for them to remove that, just to hold a hand or to just hug somebody, a hug can do a lot. So if you're already patting the people down, all right, then maybe would you going to check orifices to make sure they ain't bringing in the drugs? Half the time it's not coming from the visitors. Again, it's coming from the correction officer. So let's stop with the BS.
Yes.
Stop with the BS, okay? Sometimes I can't even get a call from him because of some nonsense. Oh, well, we not doing this today, so no phone calls for nobody. Oh, you didn't get no mail. But no, he got mail. You are holding it. Why? No reason. They get to do whatever they want. Corrections officers get to do whatever they want. And so this is what all this hazing and stuff they're doing. We need to stop that. Like, we need to really put a halt to it. Put a halt to it because, again, we're losing people left and right for no reason. We're losing the battle physically. We're losing it psychologically. We need to stop this. They need to change the psych test that they're giving these officers. You remember back in the day when we used to have to take those standardized tests and your bubble sheet might be different from my bubble sheet? They need to do that with these officers, because what's happening here, I know enough cops, they're all retired now, but they tell you exactly what to say verbatim. They tell you exactly what to write on the test so that you can pass. We need to stop this.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they know this. These politicians, all of them, this is why people don't vote. Because you with the stuff. And you get a handful of politicians that speak up and speak the truth. But how many times a day is their life threatened? Their family threatened? Nobody talks about this.
Yeah.
This is some nasty work. And you got to be built for this thing. So I thank God for, again, people like yourself, people like Ms. Lang, people like the gentleman that you had. What was his name? That journalist that you had in here. Yeah.
Oh, you said a journalist?
The journalist.
I think that was JB Nicholas.
JB.
With the freelance.
Yes. The bravery about you all, your tenacity, y'all are indomitable. Nothing's stopping you from this. You yourself have been in this situation, but thank God you never really had to deal with the consequences behind that. I thank God for that. But you saw that. You hear that, right? And so for you, that was preparation for a time such as this. You are the mouthpiece for those now whose voices go unheard. So they need people like you. They need people like me, so it's just disheartening. It's just disheartening. And it's not that it's just a person of color thing. They do it to their own. They do it to their own. Once you're incarcerated, it's like you don't have no name, you don't have no voice, you ain't got no color. It's like you don't exist. And that's exactly how they treat them. And we all know a majority of them, probably 80%, don't belong in there. Because these cops and whomever don't want things to be uncovered. They don't want to do their job. So, but everybody's making money. And for what? So you could take these little lavish trips? No, we need to clip that. Just sever it altogether. 100%. Just sever it. What these incarcerated individuals need, they need more than just reform. So now there needs to be something that when they come out, that they're not going right back into the same environment, because temptation is something else. And if you don't have much education, if you're not given a chance because you got felonies under your name, it's very difficult for them to find a job. And then the jobs that they're trying to give people for tax reduction, you're giving a minimum wage. Who's living off that? So what do? They buckle under the pressure sometimes, because if they don't have the proper support outside, they're going to repeat the offense to go right back inside. Why? Because it's guaranteed shelter, guaranteed shower, guaranteed 3 meals every day. It provides them the structure. So let's stop hiding our eyes behind it and look at the truth. Educate your children, keep them in school. We can't be lazy now, because we're competing with so much stuff. And if people really think like, oh, it's gonna get better, don't rest. Don't put too much trust in a system that ain't even built for you. That system was built to protect them. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it a buck. I'm tired of this. I'm tired. We have to stop this. So if this is what is gonna help change things, again, we need this. And y'all better change it so that it works for everybody, not just the people that got money.
No.
Stop it. Shame on all y'all for sitting on this for so many decades. Shame on you. How many more people got to die for y'all to change the bills? Change the law. Change it. I don't want to see no more. It's to the point I want to provide therapy for the incarcerated, because they need so much more when they come out. Their brain has been trained and wired for PTSD, anxiety. You understand what I'm saying? Schizophrenia. We're dealing with some severe cases in there, and they become that way because of what they're seeing and having to endure. And then you release them back out with nothing. We have to send them to a place. So if they're going to break down Rikers, turn Rikers into a rehabilitation place, so that when they leave the prison, that at least they have a halfway house where they can get the things that they need and learn how to become reacclimated into society. They need more than just education. They need therapy. They need more than just money. They need support on every possible level. So take all these dollars that these people are campaigning for and put it to real use. Don't just put it in your freaking pocket. And I'm done.
Amen.
I'm done. I'm just over it. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Over it.
Yeah. And there's one thing I'll just add before I say goodbye. It's, I think the biggest thing that's missing is accountability.
Yes.
We have zero accountability, and the way our structures are set up is that you can have, for example, Robert Brooks, Messiah Nantry, it's only 2 names, but there are dozens and dozens of other men that have been killed by correction officers. You have also the women that suffer behind bars as well, who are SA'd, who are mistreated. And we do not hold our district attorneys accountable, because they're aware of the beatings, they're aware of the murders. Like, for example, I did a video about the dangerousness of being a CEO, and one thing I mentioned was that in the last 26 years there's been 0 deaths of correction officers. 0 have died in the line of duty.
Right.
In terms of an interaction with an incarcerated individual. But just in the last 5 months, from January 1st until May 30th, there have been 59 deaths of incarcerated individuals in New York State. 59. And the bulk of them are classified as unknown.
That's crazy.
And even with Messiah Nantry being killed, being murdered, his death is not even listed in DOC's numbers as a homicide. There are no homicides in those numbers.
I was about to ask you that. How is it documented? So if you're doing it again, you're just erasing people as if they're invisible. So this is how they really think about the incarcerated.
Exactly.
Because I had to stop a lady one time. I said, "How can you be a person? Number one, you say you love God, but you could be so unforgiving. What if that was your son or your daughter or your cousin? I don't care if you hate them. No one should be mistreated like that. Let them do their time. That's enough punishment."
Yeah, and my thing is, if you love fighting, listen, I am a man filled with testosterone, and if you want to fight, that's okay. We have avenues for you to fight. Join the MMA.
Right, go
Become
take
a
a
mixed
boxing
martial
class.
artist. No, fight professionally. No. If you want to beat somebody up, which I'm okay with. Fight on a professional level. Fight on an amateur level. But beating a handcuffed individual is not a fair fight. 13 correction officers on one individual is not a fair fight.
No, it's not.
If you want to fight, fight fair and fight like a freaking man. Don't hide behind that badge.
That's crazy to me. They shouldn't even be doing
Yeah.
that crap anyway. And
No.
I think some of these, again, if you're going to be a correction officer or a police officer, it should be mandatory that you do psych evals like every 6 months and have therapy ready and available to you. Because again, yeah, I'm sure you see a lot, you hear a lot. I'm not negating that. Like I said, I know cops, and sometimes they share things with me, and I'm like, that's wild. Like, what do you do with that? How do you go home after seeing that, and then you got to take that hat off and now be present for your family? It's difficult. So they need to start putting certain things in place. Mental health is very much so important, and we can't keep suppressing things. And even for them, I'm sure they have their own complaints that probably go unheard. And everyone has an episode, but every freaking day, you got to be kidding me, bro. You got to be kidding me. This is not right, and it has to stop. Like, lose your job entirely and lose your pension at that too. Lose it. Yeah. They should take their pensions and give it to the incarcerated. That's what they should do as punishment.
Yeah.
And you can't work as an officer or a doctor or a teacher. You go work at McDonald's now. See how it feels. Reverse it. See how that feels. Yeah. See how it feels. And then now we can sit and have a conversation. But until then, shut up and do your job. Yeah. Don't say nothing else to me. So, you know how I am. You know me. You know me.
Yeah.
But anyway,
all right.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
No, listen, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. It has been a pleasure.
Yes.
You have a good night, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, so do y'all agree with Smitty on what she has to say? We have BJ Webbs says, I agree with you, Smitty. I agree with you. We have Sean who says, like what you said, Smitty, about a hug, that gives hope. And that's one thing that shows me the mentality of correction officers when they say they don't, they want visits with no human contact. Think about what that does to an individual, to anyone, not to get a hug for years, not to get a hug, not to touch another human being. Anyway, okay, listen, I am going to put the link in the chat again one more time. If anybody else wants to come on and chit chat with me, I have gone over both stories. If you want to give me your opinion about what you believe in terms of the story about the Rikers Island, 22-year-old man who basically was lost his ability to have an erection now because of medical neglect. So anyway, and then also tell me what you think about the workers' compensation fraud that's rampant. Again, I've done videos on this. It's rampant amongst New York State correctional officers. The numbers are astronomical, and in terms of what it costs the state, it's very, very high. Very, very high. So one quick thing, if you guys appreciate the content, please like the video, comment. A bunch of people have commented. I truly appreciate you for that. Share the stream, share the video with someone else. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. It really helps with the algorithm. And if you feel so compelled to and you appreciate the content, feel free to make a donation. It helps with upgrades, buying new technology, investing in some new editing software. So in any event, anything is greatly appreciated. I want to thank you guys for being here. And if people can't financially contribute, that's fine. That's great. But it's free to hit the like button and it's free to subscribe. So with that being said, I don't see anyone else coming on. I want to thank everyone for being here, for sticking around. If you stuck around for the entire hour plus. And I just want to say, as I say in all of my videos, my goal is to go deeper than what the mainstream media is sharing and telling you. Take care, God bless, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.